Okay, well, I would say let's get started. I am excited to chat with y'all today. I am gonna first just kind of give you an overview. We're gonna do a real quick. I'm gonna talk more than I normally do. So, Frank, if you haven't been here before, usually I do an introduction and I let folks introduce themselves and we round robin around and introduce each other because sometimes there's new people joining or folks that haven't met yet. But first today, I do want to just give a few topic overviews so that we can kind of have this chance to mull in our minds what we did in 2024 and what some ideas for 2025. And so then when we get after we've done 24 and 25, and I'll just give an overview with the slides, then I will open it up to you all to have you introduce yourselves. And then while introducing yourself, give a little bit of your feedback on if there's one you loved in 2024 that you attended, or one you have an idea for in 2025. And so that's kind of the plan. So this is the fun part. What did we do and what was great and successful? We did some wonderful stuff on remote recording tips, and some of our folks from Pittsburgh joined us for that one because they were just starting out their Pittsburgh journey in remote recording. So we did some of that. We also did some reading tips. Those were mostly around, um, a lot of it around equipment and sort of making sure your environment was set up well and that you were using your mic well, but also around, how to use your voice and how to work with the content that you have too. Um, so that was a bit on that. We also had a nice session with Dr. Kim Morrow. She's one of our listeners that's been around for quite a while with us, and she is blind from birth and has a guide dog that she works with, and so she shared some good conversation pieces for awareness and also sort of how to handle a dog, how to interact with folks with different visual abilities. So that was one of our awareness conversations. Then we also did some special sections, which really was tailored towards how do you handle a paper and the different ways to approach different topics within that paper, whether that's jargon for sports and jargon for business, or how do we look at the front page so that we can really give people a good example of what the visual layout of that front page is and what it means to have, the top story and the story is under the fold, even though that's really not used as much anymore because we don't have, papers anymore most of the time. Um, and then the last section that we did, just to give you a highlight on what the reader gatherings are, if y'all hadn't been part of that, um, I was hopeful to integrate some individualized or specialized group conversations so that we could speak to some of the things that certain readers work with. And that might be for the folks that are reading multiple papers, folks that are doing, telephone reader assignments. Those are very different from broadcast news. And then the folks that are doing magazines and curated shows. Again, those are different ways of approaching it. And my hope is to do several of those in the new year too. And also possibly to do some things around hybrid connections because our green room is finally up and ready. So we might be able to include some connections hybrid, and maybe Michael will be back from Florida, I hear. Who knows? But for some of the folks that are local, that gives us an opportunity to get together in person because there has been some requests for that too. So that's kind of a quick down and dirty overview of 2024 topics. And then here are the ones that have been suggested for 2024 or 2025. And I love your thoughts on that. And that's kind of what I hope we can get some information on. Jim is on here right now. Jim Huber and Mary Howe had the opportunity to read a book called The Country of the Blind, and really thought that it was a good read and also would provide some sort of insights for folks that do still have sight about sort of the way a person that either comes to blindness later in life or has different issues around their vision And it just, we thought it'd be a great opportunity for us all to come together in an in-person gathering and share some conversations around that. So that'll be in February, and I can send out more information on that. The other tips then are tech tips. Audacity has been requested. There's also some information on mindfulness. Jane Woods is one of our readers, and she is a mindfulness facilitator. And she thought that maybe we all could use some um, mindfulness tips, especially to just keep reading when things get a little hectic and stay calm and read on. So that might be something people are interested or not. Again, these are ideas. If folks have questions about reading for understanding, we could give some tips on that. Picture description is one that folks are always interested in. And picture description is kind of challenging. So that's something that might be of interest to folks. That really does provide engagement for our listeners and also engagement for our readers. It helps you to kind of stretch your brain, and it also helps our listeners to be engaged in the reading content as well. And I should say hello to Max and Rosemary. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm just reading through some topics for 2025. The other ideas that we had some folks throw out some ideas about maybe including a conversation on journalism, like print and digital media, maybe working with some of our partners over at KPR on that, some conversation on that. Also being a cited guide for our events. So there's definitely some skills around working with folks that had limited vision. All different folks like to be assisted in different ways or not assisted, depending on what they utilize as their way of orientating themselves in the world. And so there could be some opportunities for folks to learn more about that. So that would be that being a cited guide and learning some information on that. And then, of course, that last one there is the reader gatherings. And that's the ones that are specific to the groups, like we talked about before. Last year we did those folks that did curated shows and folks that did multi-paper reads, that sort of thing. So this coming year, I hope that we can open it up to maybe doing a single paper read. Sometimes those folks are trying to stretch their content. So there's some tricks for that. Also book readers, there's a specific group of folks that are book readers, maybe doing a little bit of information on that. And then of course, audio describers. We have talked about having opening that up to other folks if they're interested in learning how to do that. It's definitely a specific skill set and takes some training. So that's another area that we are looking at. So that I'm gonna unshare. Well, I'll flip to the next one. That was again my quick review of what we did last year. So what we did last year as a refresher, if you're trying to kind of get into the mix with us here, and then what we did or what have suggestions for this year. And then what I'd like us to do now is go ahead and move forward into, I'm going to unshare my screen, and I just ask you to give your name, tell us where you're at. Share if you have a favorite assignment that just kind of, because I know some folks have lots of different assignments, but share one that you enjoy. And then, tell us things you liked about the virtual coffee bars or other trainings that you were involved in 2024. And if there is anything else you'd like to share for 2025 or ideas that you would say, please, please do that, then let us know. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so we can see each other's faces. Hello, wonderful people. Okay, David, I have you first on my screen. So are you willing to jump in and go first?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm David Teska. I was an audio reader back in the late 90s when I was going to graduate school here at KU, and then work changes required me to drop because I was just getting up too early to go to work. And in Kansas City, I retired from the federal government back in February, so I came back to audio reader in I think it was March of this year. And right now, I'm only doing a single paper. I do the Wednesday morning reading of the Courier Tribune from up in Nemaha County. It's usually about 12 pages. Um, it's mostly news release run stuff from organizations that are in town, like the Chamber of Commerce. But it's your sprinkling of obituaries and other event news going on up there. I was intrigued by the topic you brought up about picture description because the paper will on the electronic version will sometimes during big events like the county fair um, or other big contests or events that are going up there will run picture stories, and sometimes I'd just appreciate any tips that people might have on ways to better describe those for a visually impaired audience that makes it more of an effective experience for them. And right now I work at the University of Kansas. I started back in September. I work at the Office of Study Abroad and Global Engagement. And for those of you familiar with the Lawrence campus, it's in Lippincott Hall. It's the old law school, has the statue of the two people out front next to the Union. So I'll go off mic and just listen to what everybody else has to say. Thanks for.
Thanks, David. I appreciate that. Yep, picture description is a hard one, and folks really do enjoy it. So do our listeners. So thank you for that recommendation on that too. And of course, thank you for coming back to Audio Reader. We're glad to have you. Okay, Steve, you are on my screen next, so I'm going to throw it out to you. And then Jim Huber, you are the next one I have up. So if you would,
Oh,
Steve.
sure. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Cole. Dave, real quick, is that Allen Fieldhouse behind you? I'm
Yes,
just
it
kidding.
is. It's just
Okay.
just a picture. That my office doesn't look as good as that, but yeah.
All right. I just had to confirm. I thought that building looks a lot like Allen Fieldhouse.
And
My name
Steve,
is
you
Steve.
should be happy about the coach getting that award this week, huh? It's a good one
Yeah,
for him.
absolutely. Um, so I've been retired about a year and a half. I've read for Audio Reader now, a little over a year, I think. I don't know what the exact anniversary date was, but the year went fast and I really enjoyed it. As far as all the programs, I really learned a lot of the ones I was able to attend, which I think was most of them. Being a new person, everything registered with me. So I I soaked in as much as I could, and I'm sure there's still a lot more to learn, but I felt more comfortable as I went along. I don't really have a favorite assignment. I like all of them. I like reading the Southeast Kansas papers. Sometimes you see kind of a different spin. They'll give basically the same regional event, which I think is interesting. They all have their they're I don't want to say little, but they all have their unique festivals and events, and and sometimes at regional events. And one of these days, I'm going to go down and attend one just because I'm starting to feel like I know the area, even
Mhm.
though I don't. And then yet my other assignment is it's half hour at Johnson County and then Independence, Missouri, and then Kansas City, Missouri. So that's always interesting too. Um, as far as the coming year, I'm want to look for an opportunity to go to Lawrence and maybe do some recording there in some way, not just be a remote person, but get familiar with how a live show is done, or do one, or record one, and really just all those topics look like I could benefit from all of them. So, and I'm also looking forward to the book as well,
Okay.
to get some insight as to what our audience is thinking and going through as they're listening.
Awesome.
You know.
Thanks so
Can
much,
I go
Steve.
out of sequence real quick related to that book?
Sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to ask Jim. So, if we're going to talk about that book, so we should read it before the discussion, right? And how big is it, and how easy is it to tackle, and that sort of thing.
That's a great question. And Jim, I'm going to let you go so you can address that. And then Michael, if you would pop on next, I'm going to skip down to you because I think you have to head out. Is that right? Do you have enough time for Jim to speak to the book? Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you, Frank. That's a great question. And the plan is that folks are open to read it if you can, that'd be great. But I also have asked Jim and Mary, and they have both agreed that they would share their thoughts on it. And I think it probably will be more one of those things that it'll generate some questions, and we can think about it from a perspective of, what is it, how does it influence us as readers? Again, the idea is kind of more just opening our eyes to kind of a different perspective. But I'll let you go, Jim.
Oh dear. I was hoping you'd keep going. Uh, yeah, I think reading it would be good. I think it's a very fast read. It's you're not pouring through it, but it has a lot of detail. I just really enjoyed it immensely, and many things in it that are good suggestions. I got a better understanding of some things. It just I just can't say enough about how much I think it would be a great benefit for all of us. Um, and I'm going to have to reread it because at my age, it's already starting to fade from from my accessible file drawer.
I understand
Uh,
that comment. Yeah.
and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave at 2:30. Also, I have a second Zoom that's really critical. So, uh,
Okay. Well, any thoughts you have, Jim, on your, things you'd love to see in the virtual coffee bars or other training or other resources?
I think they've been great. I think you and I see that Nick and Martha on great generators of ideas and help for us. There isn't anything, there almost isn't anything you could list that I wouldn't say, yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
And same thing with the areas and enthusiasm. What I enjoy most is what I'm doing at the moment. They're just, I think my one desire probably would be to have a better sense of our own specific audience. I know we've had some contact with our listeners, but more contact would be even beneficial. If some of them would be willing to be on on the virtual coffee bar with us. I think that would be really really nice, and I think we would learn a lot. I think of them individually. All the things I do, I'm always picturing, you know, who's there and I'm wanting to have a face-to-face conversation with them. So that would be
Thanks, Jim.
my
That's
suggestion. And the description, certainly that's true. Every time I try to describe something, I finish and think, well, if I describe it again, the two pictures will not be at all alike. So
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. And
thanks.
that is part of the reason we've talked about maybe doing some additional work with being sighted guides. So that if we did decide to have several folks come to an event, that would also,
That's
we could assist with that. Sometimes transportation is a challenge. So the conversation that you mentioned on having folks join us with a virtual coffee bar, that's something I could certainly talk with Martha about too. It's a good concept too. We have had special guests before, so thank you. I'll put that into the mix and see where we can go with that. Okay, I'm gonna cut myself short and ask Michael to go next.
Hey, excellent. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Hi there, my name is Michael Gear. Welcome to the beautiful Sponge Docks in Tarpon Springs, Florida. My apologies for not being 150% sort of connected here. And I may have to leave early, which is why I asked if I could sort of move up a little bit. My reading is the Monday Papers of Southeast Kansas, and that would also be my favorite reading. It's the one that I do, but it's one that I enjoy tremendously, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, quite frankly. I would provide a +1 to what Jim just said, though, which is that when I'm doing the reading of 4 separate newspapers over the course of an hour, I often find myself in a position where I have to decide what's going to wind up being the most important thing here, or as I wind up inevitably having to abbreviate whatever it is I'm reading, what parts matter to the folks that we are reading for. So any insight that I can get into what it is that our listeners find valuable is invaluable to me. So yeah, any opportunities to literally hear from our listeners about what it is that they find valuable about the readings we do, that would be the thing that I find most valuable.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. And if you have to head out, then we will say adieu.
I'm good for now. I'll stay as long as I can.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, Frank, I have you next on my screen, and then Doug.
Frank Ybarra. I live in Lawrence. I love going into the studio. I'd say my favorite thing to do is I love all the assignments. I think that was well said. I like the adrenaline rush of breakfast table time, so that's great. One thing I haven't shared with you that I should have before now is that I enjoy financial news, and so if you have opportunities there, I actually have corporate background in investor relations to a certain extent, and interested in personal finance as well. So anyway, I thought I'd just
That's
share that with
great.
you.
See, you should
So
have
you
been on
can,
the virtual coffee bar with the business news because we were talking about how to read the numbers and,
I
um,
should have,
I
I
listen to
just,
Marketplace, but that's about it.
yeah, I
So,
like that show. I just stopped working for pay. I used that instead of retirement in July, and I was a consultant before, and I just couldn't arrange my schedule to do some of the stuff that I'm able to do now. So anyway, I'm looking forward to future discussions. I love the topics you have, by the way, and just to echo the last two folks, if we could incorporate some reader feedback in there, that would be great. I have just minutia tactical thing to say. I've started using my remote microphone to do my telephone reads, and it works great. I just plugged it in and just I dial from my phone, and then my phone connects to my Mac, and so I'm able to use the I don't know what you call it, the FaceTime audio feature on my Mac. Just integrates with my phone, so I'm just using my remote mic, and it's a much better audio quality than what I'm actually on, what I've been reading into right now. So just threw that out there for you as a tip in case you can share it with somebody.
I love that, Frank. When you come in next for a breakfast table time, I may sit with you and have you talk me through that because that sounds
Yeah, I'll show you.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Love that. I always learn more from the volunteers than anything. So thank you all for all your expertise that you share with us
Oh,
too,
and
and the
Jim will get this to
community.
you. Actually, feel really cool when you have the microphone set up too, so you feel like you're actually. So I look good. I open my windows up in case my neighbors can see me and they think I work for the CIA or something like that. So
So,
That's great. All
Frank,
right. Well,
I was just
thank
going to give a quick go back to Frank since he brought me up. That's a different take on being retired. And what you say, you basically work that you're now employed. You work without pay.
yeah, I stopped working for pay. I put it in the other, but yes, that's how I got it.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah. My view is that with a pension, I get pay for play. So
paid for play. I love it. That's great too. That's good.
Okay, Doug, you're up.
All right. Well, my name's Doug Haycock. I'm here in Lawrence, and my normal assignment is Sunflower Dailies on Thursdays, and so I read from four different newspapers there. I did one substitution for the Breakfast Table Times, which I enjoyed, but it was kind of there were some anxious moments, as might have been referenced a minute ago. Um, I have not been able to be involved in all of the virtual coffee bars that have happened since I started, I think back in August. But many of the topics that you listed there were intriguing to me. I'm always open to the tech tips stuff. I've been around mics and recording and that kind of stuff for a long time, but I'm always open to learning more. The conversation on journalism intrigues me as well. That's my undergraduate work was in journalism. Um, the the book. I'm interested in checking that out as well. Back in the day, and when I say that, I mean sometime in the probably the mid '80s, I read for audio reader. So a long time ago, and I read mostly nonfiction books. That was fun. I enjoyed that a lot, and would certainly be open to that again. But I'm really enjoying my current assignment, and I'm also retired, I'm sorry, working not for pay and enjoying that too. So been retired since July of 2020.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Doug. I'm going to pass it off to Rosemarie, and then I think we have Max. You'll be up next, and if, of course, Nick and Martha have anything they want to throw in there, you're welcome to as well. But Rosemarie?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rosemary. I do the African American Hour. I think I'm just doing once a month, and my partner does the other couple months. Retired teacher, now into voiceovers. I'm busier than I was when I was working. I don't know how that works. And I like all the assignments I do. I did one for someone I knew and it was something like finding love in your 40s. And it was just really nice to read that and know the person and kind of know her story. So I think that was one of my favorite assignments. Be great to get feedback. I don't know if anyone even ever listens to to my program. Maybe it's just going out in the air, who knows? But it would be good to get feedback and see what people want more of. A couple of the guys I've spoken to, they were like, more sports. So I'm trying to bring in more sports stories.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I think
Okay.
that's it. Did I cover everything?
Yes, thanks, Rosemary. I always appreciate you jumping on the shows with us too. So,
I have to just remember the time because you guys are an hour behind. So it's
yeah,
3:30 here. So that's it.
okay.
Nice to see you guys. I actually like the coffee hours. It makes me feel more connected because I'm so far away from everybody.
Mhm. Well, and I do that's one of our challenges with the virtual coffee bars is I really want the folks that are far away to be able to join in the conversation, but we've also wanted to be able to offer opportunities for folks that are around here to come together too. So I'm hoping that with this new green room and maybe the help of Martha and Nick as they are better with tech stuff than I, that we will be able to make that hybrid option a bit more manageable. Because sometimes you make it better for the remote folks and it's horrible for the folks that are in person, and you make it better
That's
for
true.
the people that aren't there and it's hard for and so on. So our hope is that we'll at least give that a shot with this book read, this book conversation, and then go from there for the rest of the year too. So
One day I hope to come to your area.
that would be awesome. We would
It's
love
on my
that.
list. Okay.
If you come in June in the coming year, we'll be having the IAAIS conference here, so be fun. Might be worthwhile.
Okay.
Perhaps we can carpool from the East Coast, Rosemary.
Long drive.
Yes. Whew. Okay, sorry, Max, your turn. Let me hand off to you to share some of your thoughts.
Okay, well, thank you for letting me come and go this afternoon because I started out in my car running errands and managed to get here and warm up the coffee before I came down to the basement. I'm in Lawrence, and next year, 2025, will be my 35th year with Audio Reader. Um, so, which astonishes me no end that I've been doing this that long. I read Missouri News on Mondays and TV Guide, uh, which airs on Fridays, but I read it on Thursdays, and the Friday regionals, and I also do science magazines. I'm giving up the Friday regionals because I have too much to do. I don't know who's taking it over, but Trish does have somebody lined up for my.
Cheryl's taking that over, but she's not on the call with us today. But yep, she's
Okay.
excited for it. She may have questions though, Max.
Well, absolutely. It is one of the most unbelievably strange things because what used to be the Olathe News section of the Kansas City Star doesn't exist anymore. And so you basically they online, thankfully, they have them tagged as to Olathe and Johnson County. And so you can hit the tags and see the things that are available. And there is a weekly newsletter that comes out in email that comes out on Friday mornings, which contains all sorts of news briefs for the area. So that is a plus. As for my favorite, it's hard to pick a favorite. However, I've been reading the science magazines now for as long as I've been doing this, and I would be reading them for me if I were not reading them for somebody else. And so anyway, um, what else am I supposed to
Just,
say?
I'm sorry, Max. Is there's anything that you really enjoyed about the virtual coffee bar topics, or any topics that you
Oh,
would think would be helpful in the new year?
Oh, there's lots of things I learn all the time. And I am absolutely horrible at extemporaneous coming up with describing pictures. Uh, just dreadful. So any help I can get on that, because mostly I don't. So, you know,
Right.
sorry, but that's kind of the way it works out. And yeah, I always like getting on and meeting new people. I don't remember meeting Frank before. Hello, Frank. And
Nice to meet
I
you
know
too.
Doug from someplace. Um, we've crossed paths at some point in the past. So anyway, yeah, old faces and new faces. It's always fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Max. And actually, that's a good point. Oftentimes, we do try to utilize the virtual coffee bar as opportunities to bring in new folks and, welcome our new volunteers. And I'm hoping that we'll have some new interns coming in that we'll be able to bring on maybe in December to say hello to everyone. We're trying to get some KU students involved in our opportunities here. So helping us out, but also really, giving them some great experience too. So it is a great way of seeing the new faces as well as reconnecting with the folks that have been around for a while. I won't say old, but you know what I mean. And I also on the pictures, just to throw out, reading is our primary, as we all know, and so the printed word is what we focus on. It's that engagement component that really a picture can do so much for what you're trying to share with our listeners. So it is a skill, and I appreciate your willingness to work on that because it is something that it's a challenge for readers and it's a great thing for listeners. So I'm going to let Martha and Nick, if you all want to share any other information on that. And then the last piece that I do want to, I do have some dates that I want to kind of remind folks of and also speak to a potential, just share with you some ideas on a potential special event that we have too that might happen. We haven't got it set yet. But Nick, Martha, any ideas that you have or things you want to share about regarding, opportunities for virtual coffee bar or things that you think might be really beneficial for our folks?
Yeah, I'm happy to work on the description section of it. I've done some audio description training and we're planning to train some more describers. So maybe we'll do a training just for pictures and then one more for trying to do live audio description. But yeah, I think that's very helpful. It
Hey,
does
Martha,
require a lot of thesaurus.
And since you're speaking on that, would you share with folks, some people may not be as familiar with, what is audio description and what's the difference between audio description versus, alt text or the things we see on like Netflix, and then what we would say is a picture description.
Okay. Well, yeah, audio description is adding an audio description to some sort of video. So it happens a lot more now with movies. So you can listen to the audio described track. It should be available in the accessibility options in the SAP. And then you hear it. And the difficulty is you try not to talk over any of the actors or the singing. So you're trying to find those little gaps of silence to fill in the gaps of what is happening. So it's a very challenging thing. Sometimes you only have a few syllables to try to describe an entire scene. So you're really, when you're live doing it, you're just trying to pick out what's really important and describe it in the quickest way possible with as few syllables possible. With the picture, you have a little bit more time. One interesting fact I heard is that of all people who are legally blind or have visual disabilities, only 9% are fully blind. So most people have some vision. It makes it harder in some ways knowing that because some people do care about the color of the shirt, whereas a small percentage of the listener has never seen a color. So there's a lot of different things going on at the same time about what is important to describe, what is not important to describe, and how you get the emotion of the picture, the composition. So that's why it makes it very challenging. So we can develop some best practices that will kind of help with that. And then it is different doing it in person versus when you have a chance to cultivate your script like they do with the Hollywood movie to do that. And then, of course, you were saying picture description. Again, it's capturing what's important of the composition to identify. And
thank
and
you,
then
Martha.
alt
That's
text.
great.
Yeah, and alt text is similar. It's trying to capture the essence of it. And when a screen reader is seeing an image, it only reads the alt text. So it's really important to make that accurate and not just man in hat,
One thing I was just going to throw out there too, Martha, and that really made sense to me. And you just mentioned that about cultivating your script. I didn't realize that you got the script beforehand. That was something that was unique that I learned just by chance from you guys, that every volunteer receives the script before they see the show and can go to a show like as a preview and see it first. And then they come back for the second round and watch it again and do the description at that point with script in hand, right?
Yes, it's very helpful, especially if you're unfamiliar with the work, because you want to know the characters' names. Because once they start talking, that the voice is familiar. So then it's just a question of identifying who that voice is, so that when they come back on stage, you can say George walks on stage, and that kind of thing.
Okay. And don't we have an event coming up in December?
Oh, yeah. If you have never experienced audio description and you're interested in it, we're doing a described reception. We're doing a reception and a description at Finding Nemo is the name of the play. So you're familiar with the movie. They've turned it into a theater for the Young America version. It's a shorter hour-long play. I think they said it's actually 55 minutes. We were just there this morning touring the theater. There's cute little jellyfish everywhere and coral reef. And anyhow, it's a really engaging play. And so it'll be a lot to describe, lots of colorful events. So we'll preview it. The audio describer, she gets the script ahead of time. She's read through it, so you can know what's different from the movie. And if you want to come 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we'll have the reception at the Coterie. It's in Crown Center on the first floor. We're going to be right across from Santa Claus, so it'll be lots of heavy foot traffic, but it should be a really fun day, and you can come and experience it. So let me or Trish know if you're interested in attending.
Thanks, Martha. Nick, you have anything you want to throw out there about ideas for our virtual coffee bar or things that went well?
No, I mean, I like all this. I think one thing that we haven't done in a while is, I didn't hear it real heavy today, but Audacity and just those best practices. And I'm looking at Max because I know kind of when we did pivot in the pandemic and folks were wanting to do a little bit more for the, it's not required. That's an important distinction. You do not need to be an audio engineer, but for those who are interested to learn a little bit more and things like adding a little bit of music, which Max does, and we have several volunteers that do. Again, not required, and we want to tread carefully there and not feel feeling pressure or having folks run wild with music in their audio. So there's a fine line there, but it does add to the production and it adds character and then if what we learned was that Audacity can do what we need to do, but it can do a lot more as well. And if folks want to stretch their legs a little bit, so we've done. It wouldn't be a coffee bar topic. I don't think it would be a separate training. And I don't know, have we even done that in your time, Trish? Specific conversation around Audacity or advanced audio production, as I think that's what we call it. Max, is this familiar to you? And I love pointing to our volunteers, to people who do this, rather than it's something that I teach as well. I don't need to be at the front of it.
I don't use Audacity for mine. I have already had a license for Reaper.
Okay.
And for another reason, and so I use Reaper for my mixing. I record with a different program because it's what I was used to. But I think you can overdo a lot of that. But at the same time, something audible between the newspapers. If you're doing I found a little called a whoosh. It goes, and that's it. And just even something small like that between the newspapers lets them know that something's different now.
Hmm.
That's just kind of the way uh, I I see it anyway.
Yeah. So,
By the way, while I just wanted to mention to Martha, uh, my family and I went to see Mummenschanz Sunday night, which was absolutely fantastic. And if you don't know who Mummenschanz is, I can't describe it. um, but go online and look for some clips. But it's entirely silent. I don't, and there was a lady who was there who was blind. She had someone with her, and I thought, oh my, how are you going to describe this? Because they'll walk out and it's a huge hand, and the hand takes the edge of the curtain and pulls the curtain open. It's weird. That's the best word I could come up
I,
with.
I found it. I'm surprised my spelling of it found it, but yeah, I can see why it's hard to describe. Looks like you're almost blowing a what do you call it? A bubble, but it's like frozen in fabric.
Yeah, there's, they have these characters. Two people come out, they're in totally black,
Mhm.
but they have a toilet paper roll for eyes and another one for a mouth and another one's for ears. And they're pulling these things, and it's funny,
Well,
but
it reminds
it's
us we did
weird.
we did an event in April at the Lead Center, which was Tetris, which
Yeah.
was no spoken word.
Yes.
I don't remember there being much music. And Jen Nigro did the description, and I think she was talking a lot, and it was a lot to describe with their body movements. And I would say, in general, dance is the most difficult thing to describe.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of I watched a special about how it's not just about straightening your finger and pointing your toe, but you have to also describe the feeling that the dancers are trying to convey. So it's an extra level of not just what they're physically doing, but how it makes you feel, and trying to add all that in there.
Yeah.
And so for something that's totally silent like that, it would be kind of, what is the emotional message being? And you would
Exactly.
almost need to have a background in dance to accurately do that. But then at the same time, if you get too nuanced, then people who don't have a background in dance would know what you're talking about. Plie,
Right.
So it's hard because
Okay.
you have such a wide variety of audiences listening. You don't always know what, and sometimes it's very personal. Someone won't
Yeah,
like what you said or didn't say, and you just got to do your best.
exactly.
I'm going to see a show at the Sphere in Las Vegas, like a film, a 360 film, and I don't
Wow.
even know how you would start to describe that, but I'll, I'll think about it while I'm there.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I recall when I first started here in the first June that I had been only on board for several months, and we went to the conference there in Cincinnati, and one of the staff members was talking about audio description that they had done at a wedding. And it was, a special request, so for a particular person,
Yeah.
but that they described the wedding for one of the, family members that, a person that was blind but wanted to be there for the wedding. And how neat to be able to engage and see, those different, as Martha was saying, emotional components that were happening when people were reaching out for each other, holding hands, or sharing a glass, or whatnot. So there's just different ways to think about it. All sorts of different people, but also it can be really important to a single person too. So anyhow.
I'm stumped by how the basketball play-by-play people do it for the radio. Uh, it's
Skill,
just amazing.
no doubt.
I don't know if they're out that when in St. Louis when they have a game and they're doing description, they're avoiding the actual score in the plays because they're trying to describe everything else that's going on at the actual game. So then you're getting the game in one ear and the who's selling peanuts and what the cheerleaders are doing in another ear.
I might ask, now that you said that about sports, Nick and Martha, what happens in beep ball when they describe how to go to how do they do that? Isn't there a sighted people on the team for folks that do beep ball? Like that, are they describers?
They're only allowed to say, I think, one word when the ball is hit. And they're really just allowed, they kind of have the playing field into like 6 zones, and they're allowed to say the number of the zone. So they can say 2. And then the person who's in that zone knows it's nearer them, but it's the sound they're hearing for. Yeah, so it's mostly just an auditory sort of
So it's not a
experience.
describing of what's happening. Okay.
No, other than just to the people who are trying to watch the game, but to the actual players, they're just listening out for all the cues that they have available.
Okay. Great. Okay, well, this has been a great conversation, y'all. I am so excited for next year. It sounds like we have some great things on the list. I will try to, make a good calendar for us. Of course, we won't get all things in there, but we can try to put out the information, and hopefully it will meet most of our needs. And
Hey,
then, of
Trish, I have a
course,
quick question.
yeah.
If everyone's rounded, and we could maybe talk offline if it's too complicated. I have a friend she's not legally blind, but she really can't see. And she said she doesn't know how to log in to listen to the program.
So Martha, I'll let you take that one.
Does everyone know about our listener website? So this is if your friend has Wi-Fi, the easiest way to listen is to go to audioreader.net. And then the great thing about the .net site is that it has the high contrast and low vision options at the bottom of the page. So if she can see a little bit, then she can. But if she can't see it all, then it's also very screen reader friendly. So we've tried to make it have, no images and charts and cookies and breadcrumbs and all those things that trip up the screen readers. But the very first link is listen to the live stream. And then you have the option to play the live stream or play the Kansas City stream. So, which is different for about 5 hours a day. But yeah, that's pretty much.
So there's no, like, she can't just say, Alexa something.
Oh, no. Yeah. Alexa, enable the audio reader skill.
Oh, okay.
So that's the sentence to trigger Alexa. And then once you've enabled the skill, so skill is the word. If you say app, it'll get a little bit confused. So it's Alexa, enable the audio reader skill, and then play the live stream. And then you're right in there. Otherwise, when you're trying to play on demand on Alexa, the tricky thing is you just need to know the exact title of the show.
Okay.
So for example, Kansas City Stars played on Breakfast Table Times. So you have to ask for Breakfast Table Times and not Kansas City Stars. So little things like that. But once you know the name of the show, African American Hour, then it's easy.
I probably have to do it with her once or twice, and then I think after that she'll get it.
Yeah. And then in future incidents, you just say open the audio reader skill. So once it's enabled, it should be pretty easy. Yeah.
Nice.
It will ask if you're print disabled, and you just say yes.
Right. Okay.
I put it in the chat, but Rosemary, your show is also on all the podcast apps. Yours is a little unique in that.
She keeps saying I can't see anything, so I'm just trying to figure. But I think she can just say Spotify.
Yeah, if she can get to Spotify or any of those podcast apps. I mean, same challenge, but if she can access. So the African American Hour specifically, Audio Reader's African American Hour, is available on all those podcasts as well.
Yep.
So again, the question is, can she access podcasts? And then we're on, if she can listen to Planet Money on a podcast or anything else, we're on there. And that's not true for every Audio Reader show. That's something we did specifically.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks for your compliment too. Appreciate that.
Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna just share real quick, share my screen just so you guys can have a visual of the, the up to date of our. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I almost forgot about this. See, this is why I throw these things in here. There was a gentleman that I just recently met at, and I know Martha has had connections with him in the past, but I was able to table for a little bit with Martha at the NFB conference that was here in Lawrence. It's the Kansas one. And this gentleman, now I'm blanking on his name.
Andrew Crane.
Thank you. Andrew Crane, yes. He has just recently gotten a grant basically to provide his immersive experience for folks that are sighted to kind of have a better understanding of what it's like to not have sight. And one of his big things is really wanting folks to understand that folks that don't have sight still have lots of skill and still can do lots of things in the world. And so his hope is to, share a conversation with folks, help folks understand what it means to have a cane, help folks understand what it means to have a dog, and that then by doing that, by opening up people's awareness to those type of things, then folks can also be more likely to have jobs and be more likely to be welcomed into the community. So we are looking at trying to see if we can bring his immersive experience to maybe Lawrence or maybe somewhere nearby. So that's sort of something just we wanted to at least kind of throw out there and see if folks are interested in that. It sounds like it would be a fun experience. But so just a kind of heads up, let you guys know about that. And then,
Trish, I'm sure you don't have a date, but do you have sort of a time frame when that might happen?
well, he is not going to be ready for it until January. He said that he's going to be opening it up to the community in January. He's from Wichita. He's out of Wichita. And so the hope is that he's going to be trying to do some traveling with it. But I would not imagine, I would think it'd probably be, I'm assuming maybe spring, if not summer, maybe even fall. Martha, any thoughts on that?
I've thrown out spring. We're going to work with the Lions Club because we're going to, I think, have him come out to a joint Lions Club meeting, and then while he's in town, like the day before or after. So we're kind of looking at dates, and hopefully, maybe even in April as part of Volunteer Month, but somewhere between March and June.
So it's in the works. How about that? But yes, we'll let you know as soon as we get a date. And then last thing here is just to give you guys thank you all for being volunteers, of course, always. And also just to kind of heads up on some of the upcoming dates. The holidays are really right around the corner. We will be closed Friday or Thursday and Friday of next week. And I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. And if you are remote readers and you have extra time, please do let us know. We certainly have some subs out there, and we will have more over the holidays too. And then, of course, December 7th, Martha mentioned her audio description event up there at the Crown Center at the Coterie Theater. And December 10th, if you are in Lawrence or able to get to Lawrence, we'd love to see you it's a Tuesday evening. We're having our holiday party, just bringing folks together here. 4 to 6 p.m. We'll have a cookie decorating or a cookie exchange, and also a door decorating voting contest that we do around here. So some fun, just basically get together and share and celebrate all of us being together. And then, we are closed, closed or have limited hours from the 24th of December through to January 2nd. So those are my updates, and I will unshare my screen. There we go. Yeah. That's about all we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for being around, and thank you, of course, for all the effort and work and care that you put into your, what do you call that? Unpaid, stop working for pay. You guys are all doing the good volunteer work, so
yeah,
appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you very much, Trish and everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
Got it, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.